Hello everyone, my name's Stephen Redman and welcome to Pastor's Library, the channel where we talk about everything to do with theology books, maybe books that are on a reading list for your seminary course, your bachelor's or master's degree in theology or in biblical studies, or maybe just books that have piqued your interest. They've either been mentioned to you in church or you've read something about them on the internet. Well, we try to deal with as many of these as we possibly can. If you like what we have to say, leave us a thumbs up, please. And also remember to subscribe if you haven't done already and to click on the bell. Clicking the bell will make sure you are notified when we launch another episode. So today we're going to talk about a new one-volume commentary of the New Testament. Now, I see a fair number of one-volume commentaries of the Bible, and most of them are not that good, I don't think. But this one is a bit different, and I bought it particularly because I read a couple of theologians' blogs about it who said this is really excellent. So today I present to you the New Testament in colour, a multi-ethnic Bible commentary. The guys behind it are Esau Macaulay, Jeanette O'Kay, Osvaldo Padilla and Amy Peeler. I have to say to you, this is interesting. Now, the first point is this is American. And the whole ethnicity issue is different in America to what it is in the UK, although we all recognise that none of us are perfect in these regards, and we all have a journey to go. But when I first went to the USA about 24 years ago, I was absolutely horrified to find that there were churches there in the southern states that were simply segregated. I've never experienced it like that in the UK. Whereas in the UK we do have some churches that are dominated by the Nigerians in general, and we've got a very small number of Chinese churches, which is much more about the language. But in general, people integrate in the house of the Lord. And personally, I lead a church which has got Nigerians, Caribbeans, Indians. We've got quite a lot of different ethnicities, and we've certainly got a higher proportion of ethnic penetration in our church than we have in our city. I love people, and I would say to you that the idea behind this has come from the concept of us always having an interpretive lens. The idea is that white people coming up may have had a very different viewpoint. They may have been wealthier, they may have been healthier, and that black people may have had a different experience, and that whatever the situation, that these differences might make our attitude to the Bible to be different. For example, this book starts with a good section written by indigenous Americans talking about how they have found the Bible to be written for them. And then, just in case you felt anyone was being left out, Michael Gorman talks about his reading whilst being white and suggests to us in particular that Acts chapter 2 and Revelation chapter 7 are anti-racist. Or I might say they're just perhaps more culturally mixed. But whereas the American experience leads to different interpretations and has different impacts on its culture, what I think is helpful to all of us, Brits included, is that there is something to learn by reading the writings of those people who come from different cultures. Now, a number of seminaries in the USA have already listed this on reading lists for this academic year from 24 to 25. And the idea has been quite widely welcomed to look through other people's eyes. Now, if you think about this, we've all got books on our bookshelves about through other people's eyes. We've got Jesus or Paul through Mediterranean eyes, Palestinian eyes, peasant eyes. The truth is that everyone's view is valid from their own viewpoint, and it might not necessarily open up a wealth of understanding for us, but it just might. And so I would say to you, this actually I think is better than the Asian commentary, the African commentary. I think this is good because it has a little bit of everything sprinkled on the top. It carries great recommendations on the back. Nijay Gupta, Lynn Kohek, just to mention a couple of very, very well-known names. And it really has something to offer whatever eyes you have and whatever background you are from. In addition to commentaries book by book, so that there's sort of a chapter on Romans, for example, there are also a couple of other interesting chapters, resources for the mental health of the oppressed in the New Testament. This is by someone called Christian Theology. I have to say, I found that really helpful. I found it very interesting indeed. A chapter on multilingualism in the New Testament is good. But the one that I actually engaged with the most was the chapter on immigrants in the kingdom of God. Because immigration is a problem at the moment in the USA, or our media tells us it is, but we have it as a problem in the UK, and it's a problem all over Europe at the moment as countries try to cope with the demand for migration. And I really felt that the writer there had something to say for us, which was very helpful indeed. Now, just to sort of give you an idea of the type of thing that is dealt with in this, in Ephesians, the commentary of which is written by Esau Macaulay, he deals with wives, husbands, people in the church, slaves, masters. And I found this really interesting and eye-opening. So, for example, he says, Paul does not assume an ontological distinction between the different pairs. It's already said that he sees that traditionally that there has always been this ontological difference between men and women and the various different pairs. But he focuses on how Christian faith redefines or transforms the status quo in each pair. Paul limits the power of those whom society normally places at the top by telling them to use their power to serve others. And he follows this service line through all of these issues. And I found them very, very helpful indeed. Compared to some of the things that I've read recently about the slaves and masters issue in the NT, I think that Macaulay here has a real bit of insight, and he sees no intellectual, physical, emotional or ontological difference between slave and free. Paul's words to the masters are brief but full of meaning. He calls the masters to do the same thing to them, that's the slaves. If Paul seems to simply be giving a theological justification for the status quo, then Ephesians 6:9 upends that notion totally. I think this is great. Every chapter has its own individual bibliography, which I have to say is good. There are a number of, for example, in this one on Ephesians, there are a number of things listed that I've already bought and read or have engaged with, like Lynn Cohick's letter to the Ephesians, and Stephen Fowle's commentary, the NTL commentary on Ephesians. And there are a number of others, like the Word Biblical commentary by Andrew Lincoln. But there are in this things I hadn't seen before, like Mitzi Smith's Ephesians in True to Our Native Land, an African American New Testament commentary. I hadn't heard of either her or the commentary. And so there are little things there that will enrich your reading and help you with the ideas for further study. One other thing about this book is it comes with this great slipcover on it, which I hope you can see a bit of, but the cover underneath is infinitely better. It's great, it's sparkly, it's fabulous. And whereas the slipcover's black, the real cover's blue, I think this is a very nice book. It is also not too expensive. I mean, I got mine for £29, but I think that this is expected to sell well, and maybe that's why it's starting off at a good price. So this was published in 2024 this year. It's got 792 pages, whereas I'm always going to prefer individual books for individual commentaries, you know, a commentary on Ephesians rather than a one-volume commentary. I think that this does offer something that other commentaries don't offer. The idea of it being written by people with different interpretive lenses. And I don't think there's any escaping that. And I think that this is definitely a worthwhile one to have on your bookshelf. I've got another one-volume commentary that I'm about to review too. And I think that this is the year for interesting one-volume commentaries, because sometimes they bore me a bit. This one doesn't. The next one's even better. So until next time, I hope that you'll enjoy your reading. If you've liked this, please leave us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and click on the bell. And until next time, all I've got to say to you is bye!